Before beginning today's video, I would like to address some points. The person who wrote in today's video was very vulnerable in what they shared, and I want to say in advance that there's mention of self-harm in today's video. So for anyone who does not feel safe moving forward with the video from here, there's also mention of abuse. So I'll leave it up to you who are watching if you want to continue watching the video. There's nothing graphically stated, but that is a component of this listener write-in story and of today's video. I want to honor the people who do write in, and I do want to give them responses. And in those responses, I want to be very clear. I'm not medically trained. I'm not a mental health professional. I'm not a doctor. I can answer from my perspective, but it's not from a medical perspective, and I want to make that very clear. I have a disclaimer in the description of all my videos because that's really important. At the end of the day, I'm a stranger on the internet. You can take or leave what I say, but it's not medically trained, and I don't want there to be confusion regarding that. On a couple of my live videos, people have said, "Oh, I thought you were a therapist." I was like, no, I'm not. I don't want anything on my channel to be misleading. I try to be very upfront because that's important to say. One of the other things I am going to do in the first comment on this video, I'm going to share resources for people experiencing self-harm or self-harming thoughts. There's a list of international numbers. I know people from all over the world watch some of these videos, which is amazing. So I want to provide that, and I also am going to highlight the hotline number, particularly for India, because this is where today's listener wrote in from. I also want to say, anyone who's struggling, please, please, please give your current and future self a chance to move beyond whatever suffering you're experiencing, because it will change. So I hope anyone who is suffering, please seek medical attention. Please find a trusting therapist. Please use the hotlines that can be beneficial to you. And thank you all so much for being here and for taking the time to listen to this kind of prologue to today's video. I hope you all take care of yourself and be well. We'll dive in. Hello! We are here for another listener write-in. My voice seems to be fading, but don't worry, Appy. I'm ready to take your message. I am so sorry it took me a bit to get to you, but I'm ready now. Dear Tess, I'm a maladaptive daydreamer since I was in class 5. Now I'm in first year. I have low concentration. I usually jump without any reason. I do lip singing and laughing alone. Maybe mouthing things and laughing alone. While you're daydreaming, making the motions. I am very impulsive. I reached to professional earlier. They said it's ADHD, but then they told me I am not hyperactive, so it's personality issue or behavior issue. I am telling you, I am highly sensitive and emotional person. Also, I'm not that good looking. Aw. My father is highly arrogant and abusive. My mother is a housewife and she can't do a job. My father makes fun of my condition and passes atrocious comments if I share my concern. He becomes more abusive. Also, my mom joins him. I have asked my professional, I'm assuming that's like a therapist. I am asking my professional also to work with my parents' issues, but they said that's not possible as efforts should be from both the sides. Now the condition is that my parents threaten me that they will terminate my sessions if psychologist tries to work with them. They just want me to work on myself. Also, my professional said that there's nothing wrong with me. It hurts more than anything. When I hear my father's voice, I feel like self-harming. I have self-harmed before. Also, I can't do a part-time job. It's not possible in my country. And you write that you're from India. Appy? I feel like I say this in every video. I hope I'm saying your name right. I really feel for you. I hear your level of distress, and from what you've told me, it sounds like you're in a fairly abusive household. You say your father is arrogant and abusive, and it sounds like when your father piles on you, like emotionally, your mother chimes in. And there's a level of neglect where they don't want to involve themselves in your mental health wellness, even at the cost of terminating your sessions with your psychologist. So, yikes, I'm sorry. That must be so frustrating for you, and I can imagine that must, or I don't want to put emotions on you if you don't feel those things, but I can imagine that someone in your situation might feel frustrated and might feel lonely and might feel deeply hurt by these different responses. You write that you can't do a part-time job. Is that so? You're 18 years old in the States. Kids over here, I think, they keep lowering the age. I think kids over here can work around 15, 14, 16. But I don't know if it's because you're a student, if there are limitations around your working capabilities. I think it sounds like there's definitely some mental health crises happening here, right? You're self-harming yourself. You may have ADHD, or they said a personality issue or behavior issue. I mean, I think one thing when kids are in abusive environments, that's not going to be good for their mental health. It's just not. It's like you put a bunny in a cage where there's like noise of someone being mean to it every day. That bunny's going to be a sad bunny at the end of the day. So that's not my best metaphor, but what I'm saying is I can understand why you might feel like a sad bunny and why you might have attention challenges, whether it's ADHD or something else. And I can also see why you would have behavioral challenges if the people who are your prime examples aren't behaving in such a way that lends a good example to you. As we grow up, we look to the adults around us for signifiers on how to exist moving forward into the world. And if your primary caregivers are not engaged with you emotionally and are abusive toward you, that's going to twist your sense of how to exist in the world. So it makes total sense why you would feel sensitive and have challenges with concentration. And you said you usually jump without any reason, so that sounds like hypervigilance to me, which I too experience. Low concentration, impulsiveness, which can go with CPTSD. Impulsiveness, probably ADHD too. And you're turning to maladaptive daydreaming for that. I'm trying to say explicitly where you would like insight or advice. You lay out where you are with these different things, but you don't necessarily list any goals. I mean, I think from my perspective, from everything you laid out, I think you're really looking to decrease your distress. Effectively decreasing your distress would seem to be helpful with maladaptive daydreaming. I think when we're in stressful environments, the best thing we can do is survive. At a base level, you can recognize that you are doing that. You may not feel very successful in it. You list some things you're not happy about with your situation. Also, I don't know what you look like, but you wrote, I am not that good looking. I bet you're super lovely. And I think when you're in a happier environment, that will show in your appearance. People who are happier or lighter, there's like a levity you get in your appearance. And if you feel unhappy a lot of the time, that will be reflected in you. So maybe, it also changes how you view yourself, right? So if you don't feel happy or beautiful on the inside, or you're in this level of distress, it's going to be hard to see that beauty on the outside too. So I wanted to address that. In a certain respect, your parents are being clear about one thing. They're not going to help you in the ways that you need help, and they're not going to save you in the ways that you would benefit from parental intervention. The one good thing is they're still allowing you to see your therapist, at least as far as last year when you wrote in with this. So I think maybe stop asking them for that help if they're not going to give it to you, and do as they say and work just with that therapist. And continuously ask that therapist for, I don't know if you've told your therapist or your parents about the self-harm, but I think that's really important to convey, at least to your therapist. Would probably tell your parents, but that's like, you know, I want you to be safe. A stranger on the internet, but I want you to be safe. And, you know, I ask from stranger to stranger, reading your email, please, 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 please don't harm yourself. I don't know if that will mean anything to you or not, but just please don't. Anyone on this channel who has those inclinations, please don't. There's a lot of self-sabotaging behaviors you can do without harming your body. So if the choice is between self-harm and maladaptive daydreaming, go daydream. Daydreaming is a great alternative. If that's your peace right now, keep your peace. It's okay. Keep your peace if that's what you need for the time being. It is saving you. You know, I talked about this in my first video. We developed these coping mechanisms, or these maladaptive coping mechanisms, because they're protective and they're serving us. And I can clearly see where, like, it would be serving you a lot here. So if the choice is between self-harm, then definitely go toward maladaptive daydreaming. Talk to your professional about that. I'm really sorry your parents aren't more involved in your mental health treatment. I am glad that they're getting you a therapist, because at least that's something. I think some of us very early on are given the responsibility of figuring out how to exist in the world independently from our parents. And that means advocating for yourself. And I'm so glad that's one thing that is happening in this email. You are advocating for yourself. You tried to get your parents greater involvement, so you recognize that, oh, this would be more beneficial if my parents were involved. Unfortunately, they didn't respond the way you were hoping. But you're young and you're still doing therapy, you're moving forward into that, you're taking care of these things that are very, very important, and you recognize that things are not as you would like them. I want to give you praise for the advocating, the self-advocacy you are doing in your email. My greatest encouragement to you is to find your places of power within your relationship with your parents. I don't know that you'll find much self-empowerment, but within yourself, you can find a greater sense of self-empowerment, and through your body, you can find a greater sense of self-empowerment. So instead of self-harming behaviors, for you, I would really love those self-empowering behaviors. So it's the opposite. You want to turn it on its head. And some of the ways to do that, getting into the body. You have a lot of things going on mentally. Sometimes there are things you can do to help that, CBT, DBT if that's applicable. There are cognitive things you can do from a mental state, but a lot of this emotional distress, I think, could benefit from kind of feet up approach and physical movement. So exercise. If I were you, I would try to exercise every day. That's something I wish I had done as a teenager. Exercise every day, incorporate meditation. If your mind wanders, just do your best. Just take it one day at a time. Maybe start with a minute meditation per day. Just do a minute or 10 seconds. Just meditate for 10 seconds and slowly grow that length of meditation over time. Just think, oh, I can be still for 10 seconds. Most of us can, right? Even a baby can be still for 10 seconds. And if that's hard, do 5 seconds. Do 1 second. 1 second meditation. Done. That was like 3 seconds. Building meditation, muscle, physical exercise, yoga. When children are when anyone is in an abusive environment, it's going to shake up the nervous system. So yoga is one of those grounding techniques that's so good for the body. It's one of the greatest trauma treatment techniques. While you have these stressors, the yoga will give you more self-empowerment in your body, in your physical space, in your mental state. As I've gotten older, I found greater ways of concentrating, but when I was younger, I had tons of issues concentrating. My mind was constantly spinning out, and it was really a struggle to concentrate for like years, from my teenage years into my adulthood. And one of the things I noticed in my 20s was whenever I did yoga, like it was an hour. If I did an hour of yoga, my concentration would generally be better for like 2 days after. So yoga is kind of a cheat code to get around these other areas where your mind might not be helping you out so much. So I think really enter this from a physical realm. Yes, keep going to therapy. Yes, keep conveying to your therapist necessary things. If you think you might benefit from another therapist, maybe try someone else. If you can with your parents, I know that's tender footing, but it sounds like you're doing things that are important. You are going to a therapist. You do recognize that you have some challenges to overcome, and I think you're starting to recognize, maybe have for a long time, the recognition of limitations within your relationship with your parents. Unfortunately, it doesn't sound like your parents are very empathetic. They seem limited in their capacity to understand just how much physical or emotional distress you're in. I'm sorry for that. I hope you can find more people, maybe outside your relationships with your parents, maybe a caring aunt, or a kind female neighbor, or some loving friends, where you can find those emotional spaces where you can connect with other people, because that's going to be really important lifelong. And having corrective relationships with people who are kind, caring, good listeners, and empathetic will help you learn how to exist in the world with others. That's what we all need to learn as we grow up. We need to learn how to exist peacefully and happily and navigate challenging times with other humans. And if we don't get those examples early on, sometimes it becomes a more complex process than it needs to be. Look for those corrective relationships, ideally with female friends and aunts and that sort of thing. I think those are good places to start. I would love an update if you'd like to write back in or comment on this video if you feel comfortable. Whatever works for you. And yeah, so give us an update. I hope things are better than when you first wrote this email. And if they are, or if they are not, either way, you'll regroup and you'll move forward and you'll work through this. It may take a while, but you will work through these things. You will find tools and techniques and ways of existing. But I think yoga, and oh, you know what? I would also recommend the trauma release exercises on my channel, because they're good for releasing stress in the body. I hope these things are helpful for you. Api, I hope I'm saying your name right. Thank you for writing in, and please be well. Please take care, and don't harm your body in any way. You know, really talk to your therapist in those moments. I know it's distressing when you get to that level, but you know, you gotta be here. You gotta be safe. You gotta stay whole. Yeah, you'll get through this period in your life. You will. I promise you. It'll take a bit, but you'll get there. For everyone else, please like, subscribe, you know, the button thing. If anyone wants to write in with a listener write-in of their own, I'll leave that link below. Take care, everyone.